This little mountain village of just around 1,200 people has a subway. In fact, it's one of the shortest underground train lines in the entire world, with 4 stations and a grand total of 1 single train. Let's explore the U-Bahn in Serfaus, Austria. As mentioned, the Serfaus U-Bahn is incredibly short at 1,280 meters long, or 4,200 feet long, and only has 4 stations: Seilbahn, Zentrum, Kirche, and Parkplatz, and the entire line is underground. My bus into town dropped me at Seilbahn in the west of the village, so my first ride will be east along the entire line to Parkplatz. Servus from Serfaus, the tiny little alpine town that has a subway. Entering Seilbahn station is quite easy as there are no regular fare gates as the U-Bahn is free to ride. An overhead sign tells you upcoming departures as well as how many more passengers can fit on board. The station has an interactive piece of mountain-themed art as well as some seating. Platform screen doors. And, helpful weather and information and stuff like that. This might be the only U-Bahn station I've ever seen with things to hold your skis while you're waiting. Yeah, pretty simple platform. Pretty soon our train, the only train on the line, pulls in, built with technology by Leitner Ropeways. Yes, Ropeways, for the modernization of the line that happened between 2017 and 2019. Okay, let's board. Overall, pretty simple cars.
Attention please, doors close automatically. The train is leaving the station. Nächste Station Zentrum. Bitte beachten Sie die grüne Ausstiegsuhrzeit. Next stop Zentrum. Please go on the green exit signs and the doors.
So yes, I mentioned that a ropeway company was involved in the modernization of the line. That's because the Serfaus U-Bahn is and has been pulled back and forth by a cable, while the train itself rests on a cushion of air, pushed out from underneath the train car against the concrete tunnel floor, lifting the train off the ground so it can glide down the line. It's kind of like a giant air hockey puck, except the compressed air comes from the bottom of the train and not the surface it travels on. So in short, it's like a hovercraft cable-pulled subway. Unusual, but cool. And also notice it only has doors and windows on one side. This side is just like a carpet. And really, there's only one train on the line, so just this one that goes back and forth. So yeah, some stations just aren't long enough for all doors to open.
Attention please, doors close automatically. The train is leaving the station.
But it is fully walked through, which, it's a plus. I don't explore the intermediate stops just yet, so I do ride all the way to Parkplatz. I also have, these things, whatever you want to call them. And again, good wayfinding, especially because it's such a short little system. I do also like the windows at the end. It's kind of nice.
Vielen Dank für Ihren Besuch. Wir freuen uns auf ein Wiedersehen. Next stop parking area. Thank you for your visit. We hope to see you again.
And somehow this thing has dots. Like really, dots on something this small? It's kind of annoying. Getting off at Parkplatz is just as easy as getting on. The whole thing is automatic, so you simply find a green door to exit because, as I've found out, the platforms are different lengths and the train can't open every door for every stop. But the train is fully walked through, so this isn't much of an issue. Alright, so in all the media I've seen about this, supposedly it's supposed to run express in one direction. It is not. It is just running local, which means every 11 minutes we get a train, which, it's fine. So I'm going to explore here. So I'm going to have to voice some of this over because the Serfaus U-Bahn plays music and I don't want to deal with music copyright. But there are benches and more ski racks. In fact, those ski racks are very much tied to why this subway exists. Serfaus, along with some of the other nearby villages, is a skiing and mountain destination, hence the emphasis on this train connecting a parking lot to mountain cable cars. Traffic was so bad on the narrow main street through town, with everyone trying to get to the cable cars, with not enough space for the cars and buses attempting to use the road to get through the town. So instead of bulldozing buildings or disturbing the beautiful natural landscape for more car space, because there really isn't much space, Serfaus built the U-Bahn with the cut and cover method and the line began operation in December of 1985 under the name of the Dorfbahn, or Town Railway, though the official opening was shortly after in January of 1986. The original system was a product of Wagner Büro, Chrysler Otis, and Svoboda, though many of my American viewers will probably recognize the Otis company even though the Serfaus U-Bahn is very much not an elevator. Outside of Parkplatz, you can go up a ramp to the bus stop or through the tunnel to the parking lot. Down there is the parking lot, which... Do you all really need to see a parking lot? I feel like on this channel that's unnecessary. Complain in the comments, otherwise I'll do more parking lot reviews. Yeah, so here is the U-Bahn pylon, which is digital. I don't know how I feel about it. Well, one side's not digital. I don't know, I mean, it works. It tells you helpful information, like how long you have until the next train. This is a objectively positive thing. Appears the entire town is under, like, security gate-wise. So yes, the street is quite narrow, and the general public actually can't drive into town, though I'd assume locals and deliveries can. If you drive to Serfaus, you park at Parkplatz station and take the U-Bahn into town and to the lifts up the mountains. And that's not a problem because the U-Bahn can carry up to 3,000 passengers per hour, though there is also a bus. And speaking of parking, yes, we'll go look at that parking lot. The tunnel is quite long, smells like rubber, probably from the floor, and I imagine that the whole thing being enclosed is nice in the cold winter. The tunnel looks relatively modern, which would make sense given the extensive 2017 to 2019 modernization of the whole line. Oh, they also have an elevator to the bus stop. Very nice. I guess they got a parking garage down here, and what I assume is a surface lot or access road or something. So it is just a normal parking lot, though it functions very well as a park and ride for the U-Bahn. And there's even a sign above the station entrance that tells you when the next train is. And I mean, with the elevators, ramps, platform screen doors, yeah, I'd give it an A for accessibility. Not because the word starts with A, but like the American grading system. A is good, so that's what's important here. There we go. U-Bahn kostenlos. The U-Bahn is free to use. I guess it shows you how many people it can take. Very nice. Before departing, I decided to check out the other side of the station because it's not just a park and ride, there is actually an access to the town as well. But the train is arriving again, so I do head quickly back down to the platform. Interestingly, the train rocks forward and back as the train doors line up with the platform screen doors, indicative of the cable system used to pull the train, stopping to line the doors up properly.
Bitte beachten Sie die grüne Ausstiegsanzeige. Next stop, church. Please follow the green exit signs at the doors.
So this time around, I will be getting off at the intermediate stations, the first of which is Kirche, or church. And as you can see, the front of the train runs past the platform because the station isn't big enough for all the doors in the train to open. Kirche is one of the more complex stations, I'd say, with multiple levels to the station, as well as history along the walls as you exit through this entrance. And just like that, we're in a little street. And that is exactly why the station's called Kirche, church. So this is Dorfbahnstraße, right next to the church, which is why Kirche station is named as it is. You can see the street has to share buses, cars, pedestrians, cyclists. There's not a lot of room. I end up walking from Kirche to the next station, Zentrum, which isn't too far away. So I think this right here gives you the perfect view of how this street does not work for two-way traffic. Could you pass two transit buses past each other here? I would think not. Even without this pedestrian walkway, I think that would be physically impossible. Zentrum, or town center, is probably the simplest station, with a straightforward platform waiting area. Like the other stations, it only has one platform, as the train only has doors on one side. As the train leaves Zentrum in the direction I don't want to go, I do notice some cool signs on the wall on the far side of the tunnel about life in Serfaus, which is quite cool. Eventually, the train comes back in the other direction towards U-Bahn. The interior is spacious enough as it is, definitely optimized for standees, though I imagine trying to have people sit with skis on a crowded train would be quite difficult.
Nächste Station Cited. Wir wünschen Ihnen einen schönen Aufenthalt in Serfaus bis Ladus. Next stop Cable Car Station. We wish you a pleasant stay in Serfaus bis Ladus.
So the shadows on the wall, and that cable up on the left, that is part of the force behind what's driving the car. There's another one going the opposite direction, but the same direction as us, so we're being pulled from the bottom, and the top, I think, is just the counter direction, so I think it's a continuous cable. By the way, these seats are not at all comfortable, they're just hard. Interestingly enough, they have like a cable here to show you kind of what it's like. Can't really see inside, unfortunately. But they do got, I guess, one of the pulleys, and then one of the air cushions, or I guess a sample air cushion of how they work and how they keep the train levitated. Which, as you can see, that's how this works. Interestingly, as is tradition, there is a statue of St. Barbara, patron saint of those working in tunnels, at the end of the U-Bahn tunnel. Fun fact, both the Hampton Roads Bridge Tunnel and the Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel in southeastern Virginia have statues of St. Barbara, so this is very much not just a European tradition, but a tunnel tradition in general. U-Bahn Station is also where the machinery that drives the cable for the Serfaus U-Bahn is, and you can catch a glimpse of it at the far western end of the platform. The system's really perfect for transit fans because they have so much detailing the history of the system. Just like then, the construction in 1984 and then more recently. So how this works is the green arrow is where the train is, the green station is where it's going, and if it's flashing, that means that it's at that station. Outside U-Bahn, you can change to, well, the U-Bahn, or cable cars up the mountain, and there are multiple lines here, so I guess it's a cable car interchange station. Anyways, after riding the train a bit more, I decide to head back to Parkplatz, where I can get the bus back out of town and down the mountain. So that was the Serfaus U-Bahn. 1 train, 4 stops, and abundant amenities, like accessibility and great wayfinding, which is quite nice for such a short subway line. It certainly serves its purpose most of the time, though there are periods during the year when the line doesn't run, so if you're visiting just to ride the U-Bahn, make sure to check the schedule. And honestly, just check the schedule if you're visiting anyway. You wouldn't want to have to go all the way out here, see amazing scenery, see an adorable village, and get to experience this part of Austria only to find out the U-Bahn wasn't running on the day you were hoping to see it, right? In all seriousness, Serfaus and this part of Austria in general is absolutely worth a visit even if you don't ride the U-Bahn. In fact, I probably enjoyed the long bus ride from Landeck to Serfaus through the mountains and up windy alpine roads more than I actually enjoyed the Serfaus U-Bahn, if only because of the scenery that the bus provided and the general lack of scenery on the U-Bahn. But the U-Bahn is nevertheless still cool. It solved traffic in the town by eliminating the need to drive through the village, and indeed you probably can't drive through the village anymore with the gates blocking the road if you are not one of the people who is allowed in there, and it simply takes visitors to where they want to go, and I suppose locals as well. And even though it's cable-driven and rides an air cushion through its guided path in the tunnel, which is quite unusual for a subway, the Serfaus U-Bahn is still very good at being a subway, with some features that are pretty much like the best you can find on conventional subway lines, like platform screen doors, excellent information displays and departure boards, decent frequencies, and accessible stations and trains. Or train, because there's only one. Also, I'm not going to get into the nitty-gritty detail on where this falls on the ranking of short subway lines, because short subway lines like this can be quite weird. The tunnel in Istanbul is certainly shorter, but it's branded and operated as a funicular, and Istanbul has other underground lines, while Serfaus does not. So it's a question of, are we considering the whole underground rail network, even if it's disjointed, or just one line? And again, the Serfaus U-Bahn is not the only weird short subway line out there, so I'll just keep saying it's one of the shortest. That'll save me from having to set arbitrary parameters that could alter the rankings. And I guess one last thing, the line in Serfaus is so short, even with travel speeds of 40 kilometers an hour or 25 miles an hour, it still only takes somewhere around 7 minutes, dependent on stopping patterns and dwell times, to travel the whole line. So it's not high speed, but it's definitely faster than walking. Thanks for watching, and let me know what you think about the Serfaus U-Bahn in the comments. Would you make the admittedly beautiful journey out to the middle of nowhere to ride it? Have you taken it before? Or is there a similar line you've ridden before as well? Like and or subscribe if you enjoyed, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Enjoy the rest of your week.